Good morning, everyone. Today we would be discussing about various autoimmune disorders that can happen due to the phenomena of autoimmunity, and we will be basically focusing on to the disorders that are organ specific. That means they target only the particular organs. Because in the previous lecture we have discussed about the concept of autoimmunity, what is it all about, how it happens, what are the mechanistic approaches, how a particular autoimmune disease can develop, how the humoral and cell mediated immunity play a role so as to activate this autoimmune disorders. So today we would be focusing on specific disorders, that how they are being triggered by our immune system. So the learning objective of this lecture is you will be getting to know the details about various autoimmune disorders according to their classification. That too is depending upon their localization, whether they are systemic or they are organ specific. There are many factors that are main key players in triggering these autoimmune disorders at a particular organ. So at the end of this lecture, you will be able to learn the role of reactive autolymphocytes, autoantibodies, how they are generated, against which receptor or which antigen they are, generated. So all of things you will be getting to understand after the completion of this very lecture. So moving on to the first one. First of all, we need to understand what is the classification of autoimmune diseases. So whatever the autoimmune diseases till now, autoimmune concept or autoimmune mechanisms we have talked about till now, they are all classified into two parts. That is organ specific and non-organ specific. In case of non-organ specific, we also call it as systemic autoimmune disorders. As the name suggests, in the case of organ specific, there are many diseases that are localized or that are attacking a particular organ. For example, autoimmune thyroiditis. That means it will be attacking the thyroid. Autoimmune skin diseases. That means it will be attacking our skin. Autoimmune reproductive diseases. As the name suggests, reproductive. That means it will be attacking the reproductive tract. Autoimmune hemolytic anemia. Hemolytic means it will be attacking the RBC of our cell. Then is myasthenia gravis, autoimmune ophthalmic diseases attacking our eye. Insulin dependent diabetes, that means it will be attacking the pancreas. So similarly, all the names of these diseases are derived depending upon the organ they are attacking. So after reading out these names, you will be getting to know which is the organ that would be basically attacked by these autoimmune system. Next is systemic or non-organ specific. In this context, there are few diseases that are very prevalent, and you must have heard about it also. Rheumatoid arthritis, polyarthritis, multiple sclerosis. So all of these diseases are specifically confined to the systemic diseases. So in the today's lecture, we would be talking about different organ specific diseases. So first of all, this is the classification that we have talked about, because as you can see in this picture, I have made two parts of it. These are organ specific diseases and these are non-organ specific diseases. If our brain is being attacked, in that case the disease developed as multiple sclerosis. If your thyroid is being attacked, there are many diseases that are attacking the thyroid. For example, Hashimoto's, thyrotoxicosis. If the stomach is being attacked, in that case anemia is happening. If the adrenal gland is being attacked, the Addison disease is developing. If pancreas is being attacked, in that case diabetes is there. I think that everybody knows about that, about the diabetes. Another one is non-organ specific. If the muscle cells are being attacked, in that case it is known as dermatomyositis. If kidney is being attacked, in that case it is known as SLE. It is a quite threatening disease which we will be discussing in detail. If the skin is under the consideration, in that case scleroderma is there, SLE can be happening. If the joints are under the surveillance or under the attack of these autoantibodies and our immune system, in that case rheumatoid arthritis can develop. So all of these diseases are classified in this manner. But the main point why they are different from each other, why they are named as organ specific and non-organ specific, the major concept is, as the name suggests, organ specific. That means the antigen or any kind of protein or any kind of bacteria or any kind of thing that are being recognized, they would be internalized inside the organ, because that particular antigen is confined to a particular organ only. So in case of antigen, you can say, in case of organ specific autoimmune diseases, all the antigens that are involved in triggering this autoimmune response, they are localized to that very organ. And after localization, internal localization, or you can say internal engulfment, various lesions develop, and all those antigens that are present in those organs, they are under the attack of immune surveillance of our system, the immune mechanism of our system. After that, however, sometimes what happens with other organ specific antibodies and diseases, sometimes they overlap a particular antigen, or the response mediated by a particular antigen is being dependent upon other antibodies that are confined to different organs also. However, in case of non-organ specific, the antigen is widespread. That is why we are saying as systemic autoimmune disorder. Okay. So next is lesions. In case of lesions, all the lesions that are being developed, you can say autoantibodies are being generated against those antigens, and those immune complexes, that means antigen and antibody, when they combine and they form an immune complex, that immune complex, they get deposited into the specific sites, you can say in kidneys, in joints, and they then trigger a particular autoimmune disorder. And in the case of overlap, however, there are many non-organ specific antibodies and diseases that sometimes exert effect on, or sometimes play a role in triggering some another kind of disease also. So this is the concept behind it. Now we will be focusing upon organ specific autoimmune disorder, in which the first one is myasthenia gravis. First of all, we need to understand what is the target, because we are talking about organ specific disorders. Basically, it is a disorder of signal transmission between the nerves and muscles. That means it is attacking our brain, our neural system, and that in turn is basically showing its effect on our muscular movements. So the target organ is neural system. So in this case, when our nerves and muscles are not functioning properly in a coordinated fashion, in that case muscular weakness happens. You won't be able to move your hand, or you won't be able to move your leg in a very precise manner in what you used to do in the normal conditions. And sometimes people express excess of fatigue. They feel tired after very few work and all. So this disorder is basically why it is being reported, why this muscular weakness is happening. In that case, the main concept is, because in our brain, in our neural system, in our neural junction, there is a receptor. That receptor is acetylcholine receptor. What happens is, our body cells start producing antibodies against that receptor. So it is basically recognizing our self receptor as foreign, and it start producing antibodies against that. We call those antibodies as auto antibodies. So this disease is basically arises due to the formation of auto antibodies against this acetylcholine receptor. And whatever the patients are reported, whatever the number is reported till now, out of which 80 to 90% patients have very high titer of autoantibodies against this very receptor. That is why the condition and the severity of this disease is very much. However, now the point is, which class of immunoglobulin is main playing the role? Because there are 5 types of immunoglobulins: IgA, D, G, M. So which one is the main key player? So in this case, the IgG immunoglobulin is the main key player that in coordinated fashion, in a sequential manner, also activate complement pathway, so that you can say in this kind of disease, IgG antibody in you can say in a synergistic action with, or in a synergy with complement activation pathway, it mediate the lysis of target cell or muscle cell. That is why the muscle weakness is happening, muscle movement is not being happening. So all of these combination, you can say attachment of these antibodies to these anti-acetylcholine receptor, it is basically blocking the binding site of acetylcholine molecule. That is why the receptor, the concept of receptor is destroyed. So you will be getting more clarity from this diagram. As you can see, here I have pasted two diagrams. One is normal and another one is in the disease condition. As you can see, in the case of normal events at the neuromuscular junction, this is the normal event. This is our neural system and this is the muscle. In case of muscle, there is receptor present for acetylcholine. What happens is this nerve, it produces acetylcholine in response to sodium ion influx. When the sodium ions are going inside, in that case this acetylcholine is being released and it is attaching to these receptors, these green receptors. So because of that, muscle contraction is happening. This is happening in the case of normal people. But if a person is suffering from this autoimmune disorder, that is myasthenia gravis, in that case what happens is autoantibodies are generated in response to these receptors. So the specific antibodies, these blue color antibodies, the specific antibodies against these receptors, they would be binding to these receptors, because of which when the neuronal impulse would be coming, in that case the binding site of acetylcholine would be blocked. If the binding site is blocked, in that case the this acetylcholine receptor that is being binded with the autoantibody, it would be internalized inside the muscle cell and it would be undergoing degradation. Because of that, no sodium ion influx would be happening, because it is being internalized and the signal that is coming from our nerves, that is not being received by our muscle. You can say the input and output is disrupted. Because of that, there is no muscle contraction. So this is the main, you can say, mechanistic thing that is that triggers this autoimmune disorder. The main characteristic clinical features of this disease is muscle weakness, because the signal that is coming from the nerve, it is not being received by the muscles. Because of that, the repetitive muscle movements, it is very difficult. Sometimes what happens is the muscles of our eye bulb, these muscles, they get affected. Because of that, they, if they are experiencing weakness, so in that case the situation is like this, as shown in the picture, where in one eye the eye muscle is very weakened. Because of that, it is not being intact in position. So sometimes these conditions become life threatening also for the people who are being affected by these diseases. Because if in the case, like I am saying, if eye bulb muscles are being affected, if in case our respiratory system muscles are being affected, in that case the fatal conditions may happen. However, there is one more feature, that if a mother is suffering from this disease can be passed on to the fetus also. That means the kids would be having this disease also. However, because this disease is basically characterized due to the formation of autoantibodies, that is why we call it as B cell disease. Because the B cells are the main key players who produce autoantibodies against any kind of antigen. So how we can go for the diagnosis part, how you will be getting to know that this person is having this disease. In that case, because the autoantibodies would be produced in the body of the host, in that case we go for the detection of these antibodies that are being released in response to acetylcholine receptor. That means if those antibodies are found circulating in the serum of the patient, you can detect it by various techniques, for example radial immunodiffusion assay. So there are many more techniques to that. So if those antibodies are detected, in that case we can say this person is suffering from this autoimmune disorders. However, if you want to treat this condition, the best therapy is to use anticholinesterase agents so that we can treat the patient. After that, next disease is Graves' disease. Now, this Graves' disease it is basically confined to the thyroid, because in this disease the autoantibodies are again being produced, but these autoantibodies are targeted against the receptor for thyroid stimulating hormone, and we call it as TSH. What happens is when these antibodies are generated against these thyroid stimulating hormone, the overproduction of thyroid hormones is happening, as you can see in this picture also. This is the normal condition, and this one is the diseased condition. In the normal condition, what is happening? Suppose this is the thyroid cell, this is the TSH receptor that is present onto its cell surface. It is onto this receptor, what is being attached? TSH, that means thyroid stimulating hormone, which is being released by the pituitary gland. If this hormone is being attached, it will initiate a signaling cascade. You can say a intracellular signaling pathway would be activated, due to which this thyroid cell will be stimulated to produce thyroid hormones. Okay, because of that, regulated production of thyroid hormones is happening. So when the apt amount or optimum amount of thyroid hormone is present inside the host body, after that the negative feedback control from this very thyroid hormone is happening. If the concentration is optimum, in that case these thyroid hormone will send the signal to the pituitary gland that to stop the production of thyroid stimulating hormone, so that if this production is stopped, so the thyroid cell would be stop producing further hormones. So this complete process is regulated. But what happens in this very condition, that autoantibody that is being produced in response to this TSH receptor, it will bind, as you can see in this picture. This is binding, this Y-shaped blue color antibody, it is binding to this TSH receptor. So once it is binding, it will initiate a false signaling cascade. It will give a false signal. As soon as the thyroid cell would be getting a false signal, because it is being attached to the two receptors simultaneously, and it is giving a very strong signal, because of which overproduction, or you can say upregulated expression of this thyroid hormone is happening. The main thyroid hormone is thyroxine and triiodothyronine. Because of that, these antibodies basically start producing excess of hormone that is even not required in our body, because excess of everything is bad. We know about it. This is a saying. So if a particular hormone is being produced in excess, that above the threshold value, in that case that will lead to a particular diseased condition. So in this case, because of this Graves disease is happening. And these autoantibodies that are basically involved in the upregulation of this thyroid hormone, they are known as long-acting thyroid stimulating hormones. There is one more picture that I want to show. As you can see, this is the pituitary gland. It is releasing TSH, these blue squares. This is the thyroid follicle, or you can say thyroid cell. Onto the surface, these thyroid receptors are present. So what is happening? This TSH is, as soon as it is attaching here, it is giving a signal, and this signal is producing thyroid hormones. So these thyroid hormones then further, if the optimum amount is reached, it will send a signal to pituitary gland that stop producing the production of TSH, so that the excess, or you can say excess thyroid hormone can't be accumulated. But in case of disease condition, what is happening? Autoimmune B cell, because the B cell is proliferated into, due to the false signal, it is proliferated into the plasma cell, and it start producing autoantibodies that are specific for this TSH receptor. These blue color Y-shaped antibodies. These antibodies are binding here. It is again triggering. It is again giving a false signal. It is giving a false signal. Because of that, large production of thyroid hormone is happening, due to which this disease condition would be arising. As you can see, this is the normal condition, and this thing is happening in the case of our autoimmune condition, autoimmune state. Now, what are the risk factors? what is the genetics related to it, because there are many diseases in which a particular gene is responsible, and in most of these autoimmune diseases our human leukocyte antigen gene complex plays a major role. In this case, HLA-DR3 region gene is the major key player in this. And if you talk about gender specificity, that in which that in which kind of gender it is more prevalent, so women are more susceptible for this disease as compared to the men by a margin of, you can say the ratio is 7:1. You can say if 70%, 7 times the women are, reported to be more effective as compared to the men. And this disease is basically prevalent in those women who are aging between 30 to 40. And in case of the person who are residing abroad, in that case the disease is associated with this HLA-DR3 gene. This complete research has been done in which this gene complex is found to be majorly involved in progression of this disease. While in the case of the persons who are, or the people of Asia Pacific region, in that case the different gene fragment of this HLA complex is involved, that is HLA-BW 35 and 36. So all of these genes, the progression of the genes depending upon the localization of geographical location of the persons, the gene complex also sometimes differs. Now this gene, out of these genes, there is one more gene, that is HLA-DQB1, that sometimes provide resistance to this disease. That means in the normal individual, this gene is basically responsible so that our system shall move in a very precise manner. Now, next point is, what are the clinical signs? What are the clinical features or clinical manifestation? This disease is basically presented as a disease of thyroid organ, in which due to the excess production of this thyroid hormones, in that case the goiter, like the soft rubbery like condition is happening in the thyroid gland. And the major signs are, symptoms are, the person will feel nervous, he or she will be experiencing depression, weight loss, heat intolerance, sweating, increased heartbeat. In that case, sometimes the people are feeling more tired. So all the rest, the people would be feeling more restless. So all of these symptoms are basically giving a sign that a person is suffering from this very disease. In that case, you have to, get yourself tested for that. So what are the immunological findings? This thyroid hormone, these due to the excess of which the grave disease is happening, basically this thyroid, it represent hyperplasia condition, in which due to the infiltration of lymphocytes, excess infiltration of lymphocyte is happening. In this very condition are both T lymphocytes, that is T helper cell, as well as cytotoxic T cell, that means CD4 positive T cell and CD8 positive T cells, they are present. And they are the major cells that are involved in the pathogenesis of this disease. And the most significant, the antibody that is circulating in our serum, that is known as thyroid stimulating hormone receptor antibody. We call it as TRAB. This antigen antibody combination is basically responsible for the stimulation of this receptor and overproduction of this thyroid hormone. So because of that, the major laboratory diagnosis, that how we can go for the diagnosis part, how the doctor will come to know, yes, you are suffering from this very disease. In that case, the first thing that you need to carry out is get yourself tested for the thyroid hormone. If a person is suffering from this disease, in that case, the hormone level of T3 and T4 hormone would be elevated above the threshold value. In addition, the thyroid stimulating hormone levels would be low because the antibodies are present against that. So the TSH level would be low, but the other hormone, that is thyroxine and triiodothyroxine, T3 and T4 hormones, they would be present in the excess because their expression is upregulated. So we can also go, there is one way that we are going for the thyroid hormone concentration or thyroid hormone level estimation. Another point is, because the antibodies against this receptor is also being produced, that is responsible for this upregulation. So we can go for the measurement of these thyroid antibodies. if the excess amount of this thyroid antibody is found circulating in the serum, that means the person is suffering from Graves' disease. Now the treatment is, what are the treatment regimens or how you can go for the treatment of this very disease? That is, you can have anti-thyroid medication, in which the particular drug that is being employed is methimazole. Another is some radioactivity based therapies are also available, in which radioactive iodine is being, given to the thyroid organ so as to treat that very excess of that. Then is surgery, in which thyroid gland is being removed. That is the last option. Now the point is, as I told you, this is being transferred to the fetus also. So in case, that means from mother to fetus through placenta, the antibodies are being transferred. That means the autoantibodies that were produced against these thyroid gland receptor, that are being transported from placenta, through placenta, from mother to fetus. So this is the diagram. The patient with the Graves' disease make anti-TSHR antibodies, that means autoantibodies. So this is the fetus, as you can see, this is the thyroid gland, and against this TSH receptor, these antibodies are present. So these antibodies with the through placenta, it is passing or it is crossing the placenta into the fetus. Into the fetus, the thyroid gland of this fetus is also being attacked by these autoantibodies that have been that have crossed the placenta. Because of that, the newborn infant that would be born, he or she would be suffering from the Graves' disease. In that case, the child is born with the same kind of symptoms. Next is Hashimoto's disease. This is again a disease that is confined to the thyroid. So the alternative names are chronic lymphocytic thyroiditis and autoimmune disorder, we also call it as. Again, this disease is more prevalent in case of females as compared to the male, and the ratio is quite higher as compared to the other diseases that we have just discussed. It is around 12:1. And the major effector mechanism, that means what are the immune responses that that triggers this disease, that is auto antibodies specific for thyroglobulin and thyroid peroxidase. Along with that, T cells, that means CD8 positive T cells, the cytotoxic T cells, they also play a role. This is the most common cause of hypothyroidism. The main symptoms are the patient would be suffering from fatigue, cold intolerance, excess of weight gain, depression, the gland enlargement would be happening. And again, if you want to diagnose this very disorder, you have to go for T3 and T4, T3, T4 and TSH hormone estimation. You can go for the antibody detection against these two molecules, that is thyroid peroxidase enzyme and thyroglobulin. And the main treatment is only replacement therapy. That means you replace those target site against which autoantibodies are being generated. Now, having discussed about these three diseases, now our next organ is pancreas. So in that case, what is a T cell mediated autoimmune disease? As the name suggests, the main immune response would be T cell, that means T lymphocyte. So in this case, the first type of example is diabetes mellitus type 1. This is an insulin dependent diabetes disease, in which this is basically a multi-stage disease, in which the etiology of this disease is very aggressive, and you can say the excessive immune response is being triggered against beta cells of islets of Langerhans of pancreas. And the onset of this disease is very early. You can say this is not age specific. You can have this disease when you are, even in a kid also. In this case, what is happening against these beta cells that are confined to the Langerhans cells of pancreas, auto antibodies are generated. First phase is in the starting, in the early stages, auto antibodies, that means humoral response is involved. But in the later stages, cytotoxic T cell response is the main key player. And again, this disease is dependent upon some gene activation and gene inactivation. That is basically HLA, DR3 and DR4 genes. However, there are many researchers who have been, showing the effect of many kind of viral infections in progression of the disease. Suppose you are suffering from a particular viral infection such as CMV, or you are suffering from some vitamin D deficiency. In that case, you are more prone in developing in this diabetes disease. The main major autoantigens against which autoantibodies are generated, they are, in the case of this diabetes, it is identified as insulin. Insulin is the first antigen, then is GAD65 and IA2. That means the main responsible thing for the progression of this disease, diabetes mellitus, that is DQ region of HLA gene complex. So this is the mechanism that how it is operating in the normal condition as well as if a person is suffering from this disease. So this first diagram, it is basically the in the case of normal condition, in which you can see three types of cells: alpha cell, beta cell and delta cell, in which these isolates of Langerhans, it contains several different cell types: alpha, beta, delta, and each of these cell type is basically triggered for the production of a particular kind of hormone. As you can see, in the case of alpha cell, it is able to produce glucagon; beta cell, it is producing insulin; delta cell, it is producing somatostatin. So in case of normal condition, all of these three cells are functioning and they are producing their hormones in their normal way. But what happens is, in the case of type 1 diabetes, as I told you, the cytotoxic T cell response is the major response that comes in the later stages. What happens is, in type 1 diabetes, this effector T cell, that is CTL, means cytotoxic T lymphocyte. It is recognizing this beta cell that is producing insulin. And what it will does, it will recognize the peptides produced by this beta cell. Peptide would be insulin, because insulin is the autoantigen. It would recognize this autoantigen, it will process that, it will start recognizing that insulin as foreign, and it will start killing the beta cell. If this beta cell is killed, or you can say it is cleared, the function is disturbed. Because of that, other two cells are producing normally the glucagon and somatostatin, because all of these both cells are intact, they are not being attacked by the cytotoxic T lymphocyte. But insulin can't be produced because the beta cells are disturbed, or beta cells are killed by the cytotoxic T lymphocyte. In that case, the condition of diabetes mellitus arises. So this is the complete immunopathophysiology of diabetes, that how it is happening actually. As you can see, this is the dendritic cell, that is the antigen presenting cell. These are the gene clusters that are involved, that is DR3, DR4, DQ8. This is the CD4 positive T cell, onto the which alpha beta T cell receptor is present. In after getting activated by this dendritic cell, it is producing interleukin 12, which is producing further interferon gamma, so that the T helper cell, activated T cell, can go for the macrophage or dendritic cell activation with the help of Fc receptor. This is further in relation is activating fast L protein and activating the CD8 positive T cell. On one hand, it is activating B cell, these T helper cell. I'm moving the cursor. This T helper 2 subtype is activating the plasma cell, because of which the plasma cell will differentiate and it will start producing antibodies against this insulin. So autoantibodies are being produced. So whether it is an antibody mediated injury, because in the first slide of this very disease, I told you, in the first case autoantibodies are there, and in the second case the major response is coming from cytotoxic T lymphocyte. So the main thing is, this complete cascade of recognition of insulin as an antigen, it proceeds in the two manner. In the first phase, antibody mediated; in the second case, is the CD8 positive C cell. Basically, after getting activated by this complete cascade, it is attacking these beta islet cells, and because of that, that cell would be destroyed and your diabetes would be developing. Now, there are many viral infections that, as I have told you, that have been linked with this diabetes disease. It can be mumps virus, rubella virus, CMV virus. They are, they have been found to link to this diabetes condition. Even in the case of congenital rubella infection, it has also been identified as major key player in triggering this insulin-dependent diabetes. Along with that, it has been found that there are many antibodies that are being produced against the glutamic acid dicarboxylase in the case of this insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, and in which the major phenomena is molecular mimicry. Because of that, against insulin, the autoantibodies are being generated. Next is immunopathology. That means because of this complete mechanism of autoantibodies as well as T cell mediated pathway, the inflammation in the pancreas is happening because of the fibrosis. Because of that, most of the beta cells would be destroyed, and all these main cells are T helper cell, cytotoxic T cells, and macrophages. That are these three cells are involved in the destructive process of this beta cells. So the major laboratory diagnosis is we can basically diagnose this disease by hyperglycemia. That whether the condition of hyperglycemia is there or not, whether the antibodies directed against these beta cells are circulating in the human serum or not. So you can also go for the, you can detect these islet cells in the serum of newly diagnosed diabetic cases also by using many immunological techniques, whether you can use RIA or ELISA. So the main treatment is insulin, because your body is not making insulin. So the main remedy is to use insulin. However, there are many new treatment methods in which you take certain immunosuppressive agents also, in which the major one is cyclosporine A, prednisone. All these agents are suffering from toxic effects, side effects. But in the later stages, the only treatment option is insulin, that you start taking insulin injections. This is the only remedy. Next is autoimmune reproductive diseases. As the name suggests, it is attacking our reproductive scenario. So in that case, the autoantibodies are produced against serum. Anti-sperm antibodies are being generated. So these antibodies, they will attack onto the sperm antigens. Because of that, sperms will be agglutinated, and the condition of infertility would be happening in that very person. So, however, along with that, autoantibodies against certain hormones are also being produced. For example, progesterone, estrogen. So, because of that, a condition of immunological contraception is happening. You can say you can undergo this therapy so as to treat this infertility condition, in which a bovine is basically, this experiment has been conducted in bovines in which antibodies were found to cross react with these hormones, and after that, after treating it, we find that the infertility condition was treated by attacking these antibodies. Next disease is autoimmune hemolytic anemia. Again, as the name suggests, it is basically attacking our RBCs. So it is characterized by the production of autoantibodies against the red blood cell antigen. As you people know about it, our RBCs, it contains some certain surface antigen. If a particular antibody is being produced in response to that very antigen, that means RBC would be destroyed. If RBCs are getting destroyed, in that case, the autoimmune hemolytic anemia would be developed. However, this disease has been found to be prevalent in humans, dogs, cattle, horses, cats, mice, rabbits. Either it can exist independently, or it can exist in connection with some other autoimmune diseases also. For example, SLE or thrombocytopenia. So in that case also this disease develops. The basic thing is the autoantibodies that are produced against these RBC antigens, they are basically targeting CD233 protein in case of dogs. So destruction of these RBCs, that is basically triggering the intravascular hemolysis. Because of that, these auto antibodies and these complement mediated proteins, they again work as a team, and they destroy this RBCs. Because of that, autoimmune hemolytic anemia develop. However, because of this RBC destruction, the red blood cell surface antigens are, being altered. They are also being altered by use of many kind of drugs. In that case, we call it as drug-induced hemolytic anemia. So the onset of these diseases found to be associated with many other immunological abnormalities. For example, in case of stress, suppose you got yourself vaccinated, you are under stress. If you are infected from some severe viral disease, if you have some hormonal imbalance, for example, the females in the case of pregnancy, they experience hormone fluctuations. So there are different types that how these antibodies are generated and how they trigger the destruction of RBCs. In that case, there are three types of antibodies that are generated. One is warm antibody, cold autoantibody, and drug induced. Now, if you talk about drug induced, as the name suggests, these antibodies are generated against in response to certain drugs. That means, for example, penicillin. Penicillin heptin will bind to the RBC antigens, and antibodies would be start producing against that very heptin complex. Because of that, RBC would be lysed. Another is cold and autoantibodies. That means IgM autoantibodies would be generated, and it will further activate the complement pathway. Because of that, this condition is basically happening at lower temperature. That means at the cold temperature. That is why we call these antibodies, that is IgM and autoantibodies in case of hemolytic anemia, as cold autoantibodies. In the case of warm antibodies, it is happening at the normal room temperature, normal body temperature, and the main antibody is IgG, which you can basically go for the detection by the Coombs test. So these are the complete detail of these various organ-specific autoimmune diseases, which the main affected organ is also listed. For example, multiple sclerosis, central nervous system; ophthalmia, in that case eye; Graves' disease, thyroid; Hashimoto disease, thyroid. In case of your diabetes, pancreas is there; hemolytic anemia, RBCs are there. Depending upon that, what is the antigen that is basically being attacked, these are the antigenic moieties. For example, in case of Graves' disease, the receptor is involved. In case of diabetes, the main thing is you are attacking the islet cells. You are taking insulin as a as foreign molecule. And then what are the clinical signs of it? That how you can go for the detection. So these are the few links of the further reading on which you can further go and check out the more details for your reference. And uh, this is the book of reference also. These are the MCQs pertaining to this lecture, that what are non-organ specific diseases, what is the difference between organ specific diseases and systemic diseases, what kind of diseases we can say it as that these are the organ specific diseases, what are the autoantigens in case of, suppose I am talking about a particular disease, in that case which antigen, which thing or which surface antigen is being attacked by the immune response. For example, in the case of diabetes, which are the autoantigens? In case of Graves' disease, how the autoantibodies are working? Autoantibodies are attacking which kind of receptors? Which class of autoimmunoglobulins are autoantibodies are being produced? Because we know we have 5 different types of autoantibodies. So which antibody is the main key player? In case of Graves' disease, which kind of autoantibodies are being produced? In case of diabetes mellitus, that is type 1 DM, which kind of cells are being involved for the killing of those beta cells? How it is happening? What are the reasons? What are the immunological tests? How you can go for the diagnosis part? How you can go for the therapy part? So all of these things are covered in this lecture, and pertaining to those things, these MCQs are being designed, and all of these MCQs are uploaded onto the LMS for that you people can attempt. Thank you very much for listening. In our coming lecture, we would be discussing systemic autoimmune disorders. That means those disorders that are, widely distributed among different organs. Or you can say they are multi-organ diseases. How they are being developed, what are the mechanistic approaches, how you can diagnose that, what are the clinical manifestations, what are the laboratory testing methods. So all of these things would be covered in our next lecture. Till then, stay tuned. Thank you.